You want to know why Russia did not come to Iran's aid during the 12-day war, but you don't want to hear it from someone blindly pro-Western, pro-Ukraine and or Israel, because you want the facts. Fine. I'm Mahfouz. I've got you covered. First, a request though. If you want to support me in any way, as I work hard to provide daily news and analysis without the Western spin, click the link in my bio, head to my YouTube channel and subscribe so I can grow there and eventually monetize. Oh my God. What I just read out there, that took 4 takes, guys. That took 4 takes. I kept flopping. Anyway, now to understand why Russia did not help Iran, you have to understand the relationship between Russia and Iran, and then it makes sense. You see, their militaries are capable, especially relative to their economic size. The countries are economically not as advanced as the Western economies, but their militaries are well within their ability to, hold their own. But they are not closely aligned like the countries in the Western bloc. You must remember, America has led the unipolar world order for over 30 years after the Soviet Union collapsed. And before that even, it was one of 2 great powers, and all of Western Europe was in the American bloc. So undisputed control for decades. And Israel, America's outpost in the Middle East, and NATO in Europe, which is America's outpost in Europe, both have been tied to America economically and militarily for decades. Iran and Russia have a partnership, but it's young, right? They just signed a deal early 2025, and before that they were slowly drifting closer together. Now, here are some valuable details you won't hear in the Western media that will clear things up a bit. Russia has set up the Eurasian Economic Union, the EEU. It's like the EU but better. Well, no, not necessarily. It's the EU but for not the Western world. Here, tariffs between Russia and Iran are super low, and other countries are in this grouping as well, in Eurasia: Kazakhstan, Belarus, Armenia, Kyrgyzstan. Militarily, there is also growing tech transfer between the countries for the mutual benefit of both states. And of course, the titan of Asia, Zhongguo, China, links all 3 of them very closely together. If China is the center of a wheel, metaphorically, here we go with animations. If China is the center of a wheel and you have spokes from the wheel, Russia and Iran are 2 very sturdy spokes. So contrary to what you will hear in the Western media, Russia and Iran are not on shaky ground. Their alliance is not on flipping thin ice or about to crumble, right? Though their adversaries would love that to be the case, rather, here is the truth of the matter. Sorry, that was a weird delay. Anyway, Iran did not need help during the 12-day war. I'll explain. Bear with me. And don't call me a pro-Iranian shill. Hear me out first. I give analysis, but people are already so biased on one side or the other. They can't take it. They just hear me and then their knee goes, whoa, knee-jerk reaction. He's biased. I'm going to leave now. But they come back sometimes. They come back. It's okay. Everyone, love for everyone here. Anyone who wants to learn. Anyway, when Israel attacked Iran, Iran knew the limits of their own state. It knew its air defenses could not manage against F-35's cutting-edge American stealth fighters of the Israeli variant. They call them F-35Is. Anyway, Iran therefore kept its own 50-year-old air force grounded and hidden, because there's no point. You just send your pilots to their death. When Israel attacked, Iran knew the skies over Tehran, even their capital, would be lost. They knew Israeli intelligence would have infiltrated Iran beforehand. They were prepared for all this. They had come to terms with all this. It wasn't a shock, right? So it was a shock maybe to you if you didn't know about Iran before, but it wasn't a shock to the Iranians. They've been living under Western sanctions, opposed to Israel, opposed to the US for decades, guys, 50 years or 45 years. After 12 days of conflict, Israel had basically run out of legitimate targets for their air force in Iran. That's how bad it was, right? But their war goals, the Israeli war goals, they remained incomplete. America was not in the fight, number one, except for 1 day worth of B-2 bombing strikes, after which Trump told Netanyahu he would not bring America into the fight. Number 2, Iran's government was looking rock solid, bruv. Israel was pushing for the collapse of the Iranian state, but they underestimated Persian and generally Iranian sentiment. I say generally because Iran is a Persian state, but only 60% are Persians. The other 40% are a lovely mix of everything else. Now, even Tucker Carlson knows that. God, if I'm referencing Tucker Carlson, you know it's bad. The Iranians rallied around the flag and their state. Differences don't matter, you see, very much when a genocidal state comes knocking and praying for the collapse and the balkanization of your homeland. Then you suddenly realize, okay, the Ayatollah is maybe not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not so bad I have to go to Netanyahu for my salvation. Right? That's bad. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, that Israel didn't achieve any of their war goals yet after 12 days, Israel had to suffer missile after missile after missile. And when the dust settled in Tel Aviv and Haifa and Beersheba and the occupied territories and Jerusalem, Israel looked through the fog, and saw what's the deal with Iran, how they doing. And they didn't like what they saw. Iran basically said, those were our old missiles. Did that cause you problems? Based on our improvements to Soviet designs, those were the missiles that we sent at you first. Oh, did you run out of interceptor missiles? Now we can bring out the big boys. Say hello to my little friend, Kaibar Shikhan. Anyway, that's when Israel said, ceasefire, you got me. Okay, I can't deal with this, especially with the US not willing to come into the war, right? Now, that's basically what happened to Israel. So during this defensive turtle move by Iran, where they're just sort of taking the hits because that's what they're prepared for. That's how they've configured themselves. Just to take the hits and outlast any hard punch alpha damage by the Israeli state, but something that the Israeli state cannot sustain. Its economy, its model, its military, its morale, the nature of the citizens, dual nationals with a very comfy, cushy Western lifestyle, not used to hardship and definitely not used to long durations of slogging it out in a sort of ideological war. And there's only 10 million of them, not 100 million like the Iranians, or 90 million specifically. Iran's tactic is to wait it out, right? What in that situation requires Russian support? Right? This is not an elongated conflict. This is not over years. In such a conflict where it's dragging out, such a conflict, we have an example of Russia, Ukraine. Iran and Russia would very much likely work together. Russia uses modified, for example, Iranian Shahed drones to great effect in Ukraine. For better or worse, I'm not taking sides, I'm just saying. But over 12 days, bro, Iran was just getting warmed up, right? They are built and configured at a state level analytically, right? Even those who disagree with me, you can't. They don't call me liars. They call me biased. Even when I say I'm not biased and I give you the analytical, breakdown, but they just can't hack it. When I give you this conclusion, you can't deal with it. You stress. But come on, hear me out. Iran as a state is configured at the state level to outlast their technologically superior adversary. When Russia offered a formal military alliance, for example, Iran literally said, no thanks, bro, we're good for the moment. They don't need the help, guys. They don't need the help. So this ain't a country that needs direct military support from Russia. That was their assessment. So they didn't take help. Now, going back to the question, right at the start, why? I want to mention something important. Well, what was the question? Why did Russia not help? Yeah, I want to mention something important. Asking the question shows how Western spins got you spinning like a Beyblade. Beyblades were fun, I'm not gonna lie. Western spins got you spinning. You think Iran is on its last legs. You think Iran is so desperate. So naturally, you wonder where are Iran's allies at this ultimate, critical juncture. But a man doesn't call for backup when he sized up his opponent and thought, yeah, I can take him. I don't need any help. Right, I can take him by myself. Even if his big daddy shows up, I can take him too. Right, don't worry. I'm good. You focus on your special military operation. It's not going very well. Anyway, that's the dynamic here, right? And after 12 days, just 12 days, the attacker, even after Big Daddy pitched in at the end, the attacker agreed or accepted a ceasefire. That's a clear, effective win for the defender. And they had many, many more months left in them, analytically speaking. Iran as a state had many more months left in them of resistance and attritional warfare. That's my analytical conclusion. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel by going to my bio, clicking on the link. It's a link tree, and then if you click on YouTube, you go to my YouTube page. There's not much on there that you can't find on TikTok yet, but if you're looking for a way to support me, you value what I do, you care about me to some capacity, please go on there, hit subscribe. It'll help hopefully my channel grow, and eventually I can monetize so that I can, maybe do this, properly. So thank you in advance for that. I'm Mahfouz. And for the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, you know where to find me. I'll see you on the next one.